Hello everyone, welcome to part 6 of making Pong and Godot, the final part of our Pong series. In part 5, we added the user interface. In this video, we'll be adding sound effects and a table netting. The starting files are in the description below, including these audio files that we will be using. I created these files with BFXR, which is really good for making retro game sound effects. I'll include a link to BFXR as well in case you want to make your own audio for this part. Let's get started. We'll start by playing our sound when the ball is hit. The hit detection is in the ball script, so let's go over to the ball scene, and we'll put the logic there. To play audio, we'll need to add an audio stream player 2D node. Make sure the root node is selected, then press Ctrl A and search for audio stream player 2D. With the ball script open, let's go to the top and let's create an onReady variable here by clicking and dragging and holding down Control. And let's rename this to just be audio player. Let's delete that. And now that we have our audio player, we need to give it some audio to play. We'll use this Pong hit sound, which we can preview here in the editor. And to load it into our script, we need to create another variable. We'll call it var Pong hit sound. And it'll be of type audio stream. Set it equal to our audio file by calling preload and then entering the path to the file. This will make sure our audio file is loaded and ready to use when our scene loads. And so our audio player knows that it needs to play this sound. What we need to do is assign its stream property to be this audio stream. Go into the ready function and we'll say audio player.stream equals our Pong hit sound. Then in our onPaddle collision function, we'll play the sound when we collide the paddle by calling audio player.play. And let's do the same when we collide with the wall as well. So we'll say audio player.play. And before we run our game, let's change the winning threshold back to 10. Now we can run it, start the game, and when it collides with the wall and the paddle, we play a little sound effect. Cool. Now let's add sound effects when the ball is scored and for when the game is over. Since the scoring and the game over logic are in the main script, we'll play the audio there. Go into our main scene, and again, we want an audio stream player 2D node. So click on the root node, Ctrl A, and then add the audio stream player 2D. Create an onReady reference, rename it to just be audio player. And we need to load our files when the ball is scored and when the game is over. Again, we can preview these both in the editor. This is when the ball is scored. And this is when the game is over. Instead of creating two variables for our sounds, we'll store them both in a single dictionary. To create the dictionary, we'll say var sounds of type dictionary. And our first key will be the score sounds. And we'll set that equal to preload. And then we'll type in the path, which is down here. Then we need the win sound. So win, call preload again, and the path to the win sound. In the ready function, we'll set the audio player stream to be the score sound. So say audio player.stream equals sounds, then index the score sound. Now in onScore, we'll call audio player.play. And in set game over, we need to change the stream to be the game over sound. So say audio player.stream equals sounds win. And then we can play by calling audio player.play. To quickly test, we'll set the winning threshold from 10 down to 2. Run the game. And when a player scores, it plays the score sound. And when the game is over, it plays the game over sound. Awesome. With audio, the game now feels like it has a lot more life. We can give it a bit more by adding a small extra touch and drawing a table netting down the middle of our screen. To draw the table netting, we'll create another function in our main script. Call it funcDrawTableNetting and make it a void function. And we can draw the table netting by making use of Godot's built-in draw-line function. Then we need to pass it in some parameters. We need to first give it the start and the endpoint for our line. We'll have it start from the top middle of our screen. So create a variable var top middle of screen, which is a vector 2. And make it a vector 2. And the middle of our screen would be screen size.x divided by 2. And to get the top, we'll set the y value to be 0. And we want it to go to the bottom middle of the screen. So we can just copy this, paste it, rename this to bottom middle of screen, and still have this be screen size.x divided by 2. And we'll have it go down to screen size.y. Now we can say that we want to draw our dashed line from the top middle of screen to the bottom middle of screen. Then we need to tell it what color we want our line to be. We'll make it the same white that we've been using for the rest of our game. So we can just copy that from the ball script. Copy this, go to the top of main, put in it with the constants, and we'll rename it to netting color. Then go back down and make the color netting color. Then we need to tell it what we want the width of the line to be and we want the dash of the line to be. When I was experimenting around, I thought 6 was pretty good for the width and 25 was pretty good for the dash. Store these up top in the constants. Const netting width floats equals 6.0 and const netting dash floats equals 25. And then in the draw dash line function, pass in netting width and pass in netting dash. In the ready function, call draw table netting. Run the game, and we don't see our line, and we actually get an error here in the debugger. Can go over to errors, and Godot tells us that drawing is only allowed inside the draw function. This is another special built-in Godot function like ready and physics process. To put it inside the draw function, we can just call it. We'll put it below physics process, say func draw, and it'll give us the autocomplete. And in here, we can say draw table netting, then remove it from the ready function. Now run the game again, and we see our table netting. But it gets kind of all mixed up with the start menu. We should reduce our visual clutter here and only draw it during the game state. Go back into our script, and in the draw function, we can say to draw the table netting only if the game state is equal to game states.game. And then be sure to indent it. Run the game again, and our table netting is now hidden, but when we start the game, it stays hidden. That's because we need to tell Godot to re-execute the draw function. We can do that by making a call to queue redraw. So when our game starts, we'll say queue redraw. And then after the game ends, we'll call queue redraw as well. Make sure to call it after we have already changed the game state variable. Otherwise, this if statement won't evaluate properly. Now let's run it. And at the start, we don't have our table netting. Then when we start the game, it's there. And then when the game ends, it goes away. Cool. Before we end this video, let's fix a couple of small things. Let's change the winning threshold back to 10. So we'll change that. And then in the last video, I forgot to set the color of the UI text to be the same white as the rest of our game. We can switch over to the UI scene, go to 2D view, and we already have the main theme open here in the editor. If it's not open for you, go down into the UI folder and double click on main theme. We use label nodes for all of our text elements, so we want to be sure to update the default font color for those. We can do that by opening our main theme. Over here where it says type, we want to click on the plus icon, then search for label, double click it. And we can override the default font color by clicking on the plus icon, then click on the color swatch. And I just have the hex value right here, so I'll paste it in. Feel free to pause the video and copy this value, then click enter. Run the game one last time. And although it's kind of hard to tell, the font color has been updated to match the rest of our game. And with that, we have now finished making Pong in Godot. We did a lot of work this series, so be sure to reward yourself. Go play your favorite game, read your favorite book, or do whatever you enjoy doing. I'll clean up the code a little bit by adding some comments, then upload it to GitHub. Feel free to take this project and play around with it more. A couple ideas could be to add a single player mode or add another ball to the game. We'll leave with 2 questions for the day. What is one thing you learned from this series? And what is one thing you want to learn in the future? Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.